So today I want to share out of the book of Daniel. I want to read from chapter 5, verses 18 through 23. Let's see. And this is Daniel speaking to uh, Belshazzar. He was King Nebuchadnezzar's son, who is now king um, over over Babylon and its kingdom. Um, and what brought about this bit of scripture here was that Belshazzar, Belshazzar was having a big feast uh, for all his rulers and friends and wives and concubines, and during their feasting and partying, he purposely had the servants bring out the gold, the gold goblets, whatever that his father had taken from the Temple of Jerusalem and persisted to use those to continue his feasting and drinking with. And as a result, a hand came out of nowhere and started banging on the wall, which shook him to his very core. I mean, he was scared senseless. He tried calling his magicians, the conjurers, his wise men, none of which you could even read the inscription, much less give him an interpretation. He remembered about Daniel and the stories that he heard about Daniel, so he called Daniel and offered Daniel the same thing he was offering all the other people, to basically be third in command of all the kingdom, give him gifts of, you know, royal robes and gifts. But Daniel refused, told him to keep them. I'll go ahead and interpret the inscription for you. And then this is what Daniel tells him at the start of that. O King, the Most High God granted sovereignty, grandeur, glory, and majesty to Nebuchadnezzar your father. Because of the grandeur which he bestowed on him, all the peoples, nations, and men of every language feared and trembled before him, whomever he wished to kill, and whomever he wished he spared alive, and whoever he wished he elevated, and whoever he wished he humbled. But when his heart was lifted up and his spirit became so proud that he behaved arrogantly, he was disposed from his royal throne, and his glory was taken away from him. He was also driven away from mankind, and his heart was made like that of beasts, and his dwelling place was with the wild donkeys. He was given grass to eat like cattle, and his body was drenched with the dew of heaven, until he recognized that the Most High God is ruler over the realm of mankind, and that he sets over it whoever he wishes. Yet you, his son Belshazzar, have not humbled your heart, even though you knew all this, but you have exalted yourself against the Lord of heaven. And they have brought the vessels of his house before you, and you and your nobles and your wives and your concubines have been drinking wine from them, and you have praised the gods of silver and of gold and of bronze, iron, wood, and stone, which you do not see, hear, or understand. But the God in whose hand are your life breath and all your ways, you have not glorified. So Daniel was given Belshazzar a history lesson, a reminder of what he witnessed while he was growing up. Nebuchadnezzar had great power at this time of history. He pretty much was ruler over a great deal of the known world, but he allowed his rule to make him arrogant, to the point that he built a golden statue and try to make everybody worship the statue, which was worshiping him because he placed himself as a god to all the people he was under. And, and I say he tries because there was Meshach, Meshach, and Abednego. The three gentlemen refused to bow down before the idol was cast into the furnace, and was never harmed. Um, in fact, when they were cast in the fire, Nebuchadnezzar saw a fourth figure in that fire and couldn't figure out who it was. And in all likelihood, it could have very well been Jesus Christ, as he was still an angel of as an angel of the Lord. He was either an angel of the Lord or possibly Jesus, um, that was sent and communed and protected these three gentlemen. So, as Nebuchadnezzar's son, he saw this, and as a result of this, God stripped away his kingdom from him, and he actually became mad, went running out, and lived like a beast, eating grass, um, naked, you name it. And then he finally humbled himself and recognized that God was the one who was really in charge of everything. Um, and once he did that, God restored his kingdom to him. Um, so, being Nebuchadnezzar's son, he saw all of this. He lived it, he witnessed it, but he still refused to acknowledge God for who he is and for what he gave him and for what he did. He still preferred to worship the false gods. And then by bringing out the vessels from the treasury that came from Jerusalem, he really put it out there that he um, was in fact above God. But Daniel made the inscription, read the inscription, told him what it was, and on that very night, Belshazzar was slain. So basically, when Belshazzar did that one last act of, at that feast, God quite literally wrote out Belshazzar's death sentence on the wall in front of him. It kind of makes me wonder, about the Pharisees and the scribes who, knowing what God had done throughout all their history, and then when Christ comes fulfilling the scriptures, refused to give Jesus the honor and glory and respect. Instead, they killed him on that cross, which Jesus came to do willingly anyway. It's a knew he was going to do to restore man back to God. But the fact that the Pharisees and scribes knew the history, they knew the prophecies, they knew to watch for, and when it was actually happening, they refused to believe. Just like Belshazzar, seeing everything that his father went through, refused to believe in the one true God, and in fact placed himself above the one true God, and it cost him his life. Um, I'm just trying to. I'm kind of seeing for myself a correlation between Belshazzar and the Pharisees, in that they knew and did not believe, and in fact placed themselves above God, the Pharisees and scribes, above Christ. In the end, Belshazzar died. The scribes and Pharisees died, and their fate, guaranteed, is similar to Belshazzar's, or exactly as Belshazzar's, in that they're probably forever burning, suffering, torment of hell, and have no way of getting to the Father. And prob and the and they probably never realized it until after their death, obviously. But anyways, I don't know. It's just a interesting tidbit about how funny it is that we can lack wisdom and humility despite seeing when something happens to somebody else, especially to those who are closest to us, family. We need to be very careful and not become like Belshazzar, like the Pharisees and the scribes. We need to be very, very careful because we are not above God, we're not above Christ. And when we see something happen to somebody, we need to make aware and check ourselves. With that, love you guys. You have a blessed day. And we'll see you tomorrow.